Gravy train, baby. What's up? My name's Andrew. I'm America's Paramedic, and we are here today on a awesome part 2 of EMS Echoes podcast. Of course, America's Paramedic here with a very, very, very special guest star that I'm very glad to have. Let's see. We're here to have a safe, slow, and quiet night as always. So with that, let's start our safe, slow, quiet night by having you introduce yourself, bud.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
My name's Jack. I also go by WhatsGood247 if you've seen me when I plaster myself all over the internet. And we've been hanging out for a little bit today, doing some content, doing some training, a whole bunch of EMS related stuff. And now we're doing a podcast, so I'm super excited. Yeah,
he's training me on how to plaster myself all over the internet. So, however you take that. Yeah, man, that's awesome. No, I'm very excited to have you. I think it'll be awesome to dig in and talk about some EMS-related stuff. And man, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so honored to have you in the school, first of all. So give me some of your thoughts. What do you think about Utah?
Well, you guys are running an awesome operation here. Obviously, you guys have been showing me your training and everything that you guys have been doing, and it's super, super cool. Compared to what you guys are doing here with what I see in New York, it's like night and day. Like the hyper-realistic stuff you guys are doing and the resources you guys have are seriously incredible. It's almost like I wish I went to a school like this back in the day. The term death by PowerPoint I've heard you use before, and I can definitely understand what you mean by that compared to what you guys are doing out there. So it's really cool.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And, I can't take all the credit, as the paramedic director on here. I wouldn't be anything without the team. We have a great team. We have, of course, our cameraman back there. And, we have all of our moulage team that makes it worth it. We have the students. We have the instructors, everybody that facilitates all the call-outs and stuff. And everything. It's a team effort to make this happen. But the vision, I think, is to make better EMS clinicians in the field. And I use the word clinicians or practitioners because I think that's almost where EMS has to go, don't you think? Like, instead of just being called an EMT, I think we always have to practice and be a clinician in the field.
That's true. Whatever skill you're demonstrating, you're practicing, right?
Yeah, so exactly, yeah.
It definitely is a term that applies, but I think that the job that is being an EMT, I wish it was seen as more of a career. You can, when you're a paramedic, people respect that a little bit more, but being a BLS provider, people kind of discount you and write you off pretty quick. And I kind of wish that wasn't the case, but that's part of the reason I'm looking forward to going to medic school in the near future. So
awesome. Well, I just hope you plant your butt right here in our paramedic school. That's kind of my goal.
I'm tempted, to be honest. A lot of the classes near me, they're obviously pretty long, so the timing aspect is kind of tough. But the way that you guys have created this engaging training program is super cool. So. If I lived in Utah, I would definitely be at your guys' training facility, but a Utah state license isn't going to do me much good in New York. So
This is true. So speaking of New York, so tell us what it's like in New York. Tell us what your background is. Tell us what it's like. Give us some clues to some of the daily calls you go on.
Yeah, so I got my BLS card in 2019. I passed my state exam in December 2019. I started working IFT around May or late April of 2020. Okay. Around me, you can't get a ambulance job without experience unless it is IFT, right? You can't jump into 911. It's just not the nature of how it works around there. So I started doing facility transports. Honestly, I thought it was great at first. I had never been on or seen the inside of an ambulance until my first day of work when I started training. So it was definitely really exciting. I totally thought that I was going to be doing 911 calls when I showed up. They kind of, my hiring process and everything, they kind of didn't disclose that, right up front. So my FTO was like, hey, so, we're just ferrying people to different hospitals and to dialysis appointments and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, well, I guess so be it. I'm here, right? So
right.
I did that for the whole summer, in between school semesters, right? So honestly, it was a lot of fun at first, but the nature of IFT, it started to kind of feel routine pretty quickly, Okay. Obviously, you're not taking very high acuity patients, so it's just people that can't sit in a chair, right? Is that generalized term for why they need to go by ambulance, right? So I did that for a summer, then I did a semester at school. Then I went right into doing IFT, but this time I was doing it in the Bronx for a company called Citywide. Okay. Shout out Citywide EMS.
There you go. Nice.
Exact same thing, but this time I was doing it in the city, so at least it was a little bit more of an interesting environment, right?
Sure.
So then I went back to school, and this is where I kind of hit a crossroads because I was struggling with online school. Right, I was a great student when I had to, be in person in class and get my attendance point, and do all the things that being in person requires. But I was able to be so lazy with online school that I couldn't help but be lazy, and trying to get a biology degree through a screen really didn't work for me.
Yeah.
My friends that were business majors and their homework was coloring books, they were like, "Oh, online school's great. This is awesome."
Right, right.
My grades started to take a serious hit with online school, so I opted to take time off from school and just work as an EMT full time until school went back to normal. Because the world was falling apart. I was like, let me take some time off. I'll work. I'll build my resume, and then I'll go back to school.
And that was all during your COVID time, is what you told me, right?
Yeah. So this was 2021 at this point. So
okay. Right in the hit of the COVID.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I took some time off. I started working at a private ambulance company up in Binghamton, New York, Superior Ambulance. Shout out those guys. They're great. And that's where I got my first 911 experience. And I remember the first day at work at Superior, when I stepped on the back of the truck, I couldn't believe how much more equipment there was.
Exactly.
Compared to how we were stocked doing IFT compared to a 911 capable truck. Like even just the monitor with the lead sticking out of it, I was like, whoa, like there is so much more to learn.
I've made it in the big leagues.
Yeah, and despite, feeling comfortable going in and out of hospitals, using a stretcher, operating on an ambulance, driving, it was still a pretty big learning curve for me to start 911. And where I was up in Binghamton, it's a pretty bad area up there, and we were doing about 70% of the 911 calls for that area. So it was
awesome.
a really, really valuable experience.
Awesome.
If I have any cool EMT stories, they're probably all from up when I was in Binghamton. So I was still up living at school, SUNY Binghamton University, but I was just working full time, right? That school semester ended. I came home when everybody else came home.
Yeah.
I went right into working a EMS supervisor position for the town of Oyster Bay where I was living.
Okay.
And I was working at the beach every day. I was scheduling the other EMTs. I was staffing people at
So
day camps.
what's good working on the beach? Shout out to all of those people who were like, hey, what? Right?
Yeah.
That's what's good right there.
Right. So I had lifeguarded for a long time before that, but this was my first time just handling the healthcare at a beach, which was probably one of the most unique jobs I ever had. It was really cool.
That's awesome.
But not long after that summer, I got hired at my current ambulance company, which is a private agency on Long Island, and I also got started with Paradox Worldwide, which does all the event staffing, which I really prioritize the content with these days. So that's my current situation. I work per diem at both places, right? So I pick up shifts at my ambulance company as much as I can and want, and same thing with Paradox. So
nice.
Between the two jobs, I'm working about full time, and all my other free time goes into pursuing the social media stuff. So pretty much my plan is what I'm doing right now is working, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. That's what you were saying, yeah.
If or when, stuff changes or it dries up or I get sick of it or whatever, that's when I'm going to make the change to go to medic school. So I really want to go to medic school. I almost hope that I can rationalize going in the future, but right now everything's working, and if it's not broke, you don't fix it, right? So that's pretty much a summation of what I'm doing these days.
Well, man, and I know I've told you before, but, we would love to sponsor you and, mentor you all the way through medic school and help you succeed awesome. and help you win. And we want to leave our mark with you and say, man, take America's Paramedic with you and,
dude, that would be great.
become a paramedic just like us and do your thing,
my problem is I know that with the type of student that I am, I'm not going to be able to balance social media and medic school.
Right.
Even with the stuff that I'm doing now, like I was able to come out and meet you guys in Utah and do, training and content and stuff with you guys. I travel around to different music festivals and I do all these per diem shifts, and that that many variables in your schedule doesn't really mix with how I would go through medic school.
Sure, of course.
I got to be in one place, nose in the textbook if I'm going to be able to pull this off, because like obviously you understand when it comes to learning paramedicine, like it's not just, you study and pass the tests and then, whatever you do in the job. Like the knowledge you're learning in school, like you have to retain it. It's so essential to your progression through the job. It's not just like, you just earned this degree and then you start the job and then, you learn the job and that's it. Like,
right.
It's very, very intense schoolism. Obviously, I know you're aware. So
yeah, I mean, one of the biggest lessons I learned in that too, and if there's any advice I could give you, it would be that every single thing that you learn, you're gonna re-see it in 5 different places, and it's always going to have a hands-on component. One of the things I was learning going through critical care and flight was, things like the potassium shifts, how much your end tidal causes your pH to shift, all with a breathing rate and acidosis and alkalosis and ABG science. And I know you guys are all going, oh, yeah, but that stuff is all applicable, because then you get into things like, fast forward from your ABG chapter and you start studying, GI, and then you start studying OBGYN and pediatrics and PALS. And all of a sudden now you're re-seeing the same thing you learned yesterday when you studied that unit. And you have to be able to recall it and memorize it and retain it. And so studying paramedicine, to kind of bring it back around, is everything you study, you have to memorize and understand, because then when you get in the rig or you get in a helicopter, you get in a bird, whatever, you're going to end up having to do it with your hands, and you're going to have to understand what the settings look like on the monitor, and you're going to have to flip this switch and dial this knob and adjust this vent setting, and you're going to have to understand what it is you're looking at. And so I think it's a lot different than just studying English or geography or, any other, career field.
Even when it comes to taking your basic course, obviously there's a lot of concrete information that you have to retain with you from school, especially the things that are considered critical fails when you're testing, right? But some advice I always give to people when they ask about starting EMT school, whether they're about to take their test or they're just starting their first day of class and, they want some advice. I always tell them to study as much as you can and just pass the test. And when it comes to actually learning how to operate as an EMT, that's not something you're really going to learn how to do until you get hired and start training, right? So, obviously you got to know to not give aspirin to GI bleeds and all this other stuff that you definitely need to take with you out of school. But when it comes to the day-to-day operations of being an EMT and all the interventions you're going to be doing and working with your partner and everything, that's something you really start to learn when you actually start training with your field training officer and you actually start working. But with how much more information there is with medic school, it can't be the same thing. Pharmacology, cardiology, all this stuff. So there's so much more that you can't just pass the test and then worry about learning the job. You have to really start learning in school, and I'm not going to be able to do that if I'm bouncing around to music festivals and
right. You're just living your best life right now
for content and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. So, you got to keep coming to Utah, of course.
It's only been this past year, or really the start of 2024, where I felt comfortable enough as a BLS provider to want more responsibility and increase my scope of care, right? So I guess I'm 4.5 years into my BLS certification, and now I'm ready to take that next step.
I think we have a live in-studio caller. I think that's one of your fans calling. I'm just joking. Yeah. I'm just joking.
But yeah, I think that medic school is definitely my future. It's just a matter of when, and the timing kind of has to work out for me.
For sure, man, for sure. So let's flip the script a little bit. And you said something I want to touch on for just a second, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So you said that when you learn how to pass a test, and I think test taking is, everybody will tell you, my NREMT quick tips videos, I'm all about test taking. But I wanted to ask, what were your thoughts? I know you were with us last night, and you were the patient actually for our call out last night. So what did you think? And do you think training like that helps combine those two and bridge those two so that they're not so polar opposite?
Yeah, I think so. There's definitely a lot of value to what you guys are doing with these hyper-realistic scenarios. Just simulating the environment, by using a real hotel or using a real restaurant or something like that is already just... It has that feel to it that a real call actually has, and you can't do that in a classroom. You can't do that, in a place that's dedicated for training, right? So I think it definitely is going to help people get their bearings a lot quicker when they actually graduate and start doing real calls. You know? I was so nervous my first day because I had no idea what to expect. I had never even heard tones before. I had never, I was so new to all this stuff, where if I had training like you guys provide, I definitely would have felt a lot more comfortable. It's pretty easy to chalk it up, be like, oh, it's just it's overkill, you don't need to go that above and beyond, right? Maybe you don't every single day, but having experience with those super realistic scenarios, I think, is definitely important when it comes to creating a high quality EMT. I think you definitely are giving these students an edge.
So I appreciate that. But what were your thoughts when we were lifting you up on the backboard last night, carrying you down the stairs?
That was crazy.
Did you still believe that then?
Yeah. So for those guys listening, if you haven't seen the video yet, I played somebody that needed help in a motel bathroom. So the training crew found me in the bathroom. I was slumped up against the wall. They had to extricate me out of the bathroom, assess me outside. There was a point where I ended up in the shower because they had to slide me over, move the door, slide me out, right? And I was playing totally dead. Like I've never simulated being a corpse like that before, right? So I was giving them no help with my posturing. I was totally...
That's a whole new take for some of your videos.
Yeah. I was totally dead weight. I was not going easy on these guys. But
later you have WhatsGood being like, I have a skit for you.
Yeah. But no, they were great. They lifted me out of the bathroom. They did their assessment.
Good.
They rolled me onto the backboard, right? I thought that, someone would have called it and like, okay, they got me on the backboard. They lifted me. I would think that they were going to unstrap me. I would walk down the stairs and then get back on the backboard and then continue from there. But no, they carried me down the stairs of a real like motel where people are currently living, right? They backboarded me down the stairs. I had a neck brace on. I had the leads on me. They were like pantomiming the bag, the BVM on me, right?
Yeah.
I think they stuffed it in the seat collar, so it looked like it was in the right spot, but they were just simulating it. And yeah, everybody was coordinated. Nobody was stepping on each other. People weren't trying to do two things at once that were clashing. It definitely helps people get used to the flow of a real call. You're in a real environment with someone that is looking and acting like a very, very real patient.
Right.
And simulating that energy is super valuable to have experience with. So I was honestly pretty blown away that your students, from start to finish, were able to keep their composure and really flow through that the way that they did. Obviously, I understand that the team yesterday was like at the end of their class. They definitely
at their basic.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're almost through to take their state exam, right? So they're not like brand new students, right? But
right.
They did great, and even when it came to getting me on the stretcher, getting me into the ambulance, did you have a student driving?
Yeah.
Okay,
we did have a student driving.
Okay, yeah. So it was cool. So right. Everything felt great. I was I had my eyes closed for a lot of it, right, to be as real as possible. But the footage that I was watching back was awesome.
Really? Yeah.
Obviously, they're bringing around real equipment. Using real methods and real interventions and stuff like that.
I think we have a quick 10-second clip that we can embed and show. Right about here, right? That we can just go ahead and throw up there. Right? Exactly. You just we'll just superimpose it and show a quick 10-second clip as we stare off into happy space.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and we're back. All right, so
the one thing that I would mention is, which is kind of unavoidable in this sense, but there was a lot of people. I think the team was like 6 or 8 people that were all hands-on.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have a class of people. When you're doing something this involved, you need to involve everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But,
right.
It's not very often that you're going to have 6 or 8 BLS EMTs all working on the same patient at the same time, right?
Right. Unless you're in Utah where they're all firefighters, and then they'll all be in turnouts.
Right. So, that's one of those things that, given that it's a class, you can't really change, right?
Yeah.
I guess tonight is going to be 4 people. There's only going to be 4 people.
Yeah, there's 4, and you're one of them.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're actually going to be a provider.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be awesome. It'll definitely feel a little bit more realistic and intimate when it comes to people working with each other, which will be nice.
Awesome.
I don't know if I just misheard it yesterday, but obviously I was playing a patient that had a head strike. I had respiratory depression, the whole 9 yards, all this stuff.
Yeah.
I want to say I had a C-collar on me before anybody considered ventilations or even Narcan. I could be wrong. I think maybe I just didn't hear it. A bunch of people were talking and voicing their interventions at the same time. But it's stuff like that if that was the case, it's so much better to screw that up on a simulated call than on a real call.
Exactly. I can tell you, as soon as they walk in, they found you, and the first thing one of the students noticed before pinpoint pupils and some of the other sources that were in the room, the first thing they noticed was blood on the shower wall and blood on you, on your head, and then the bruising around your eye. And they were like, oh, this is a head injury. He slipped and fell. So they were like, somebody hold manual inline stabilization, and then they put C-collar. And you're right. I mean, there's so many lessons like that I think are learned. And what I tell my students as the instructor, I say, I will never get mad at you for making a wrong decision. in class. I only get mad if you hide and don't step up and try, right? Like, that's the only time I've ever gotten mad, right? Is because I'm like, no, I want you to step up and try. And it's okay if you fail, because this is a safe environment to fail and make mistakes. And I think that has to be the difference between, classrooms and FTO and training. I think there's a big disconnect sometimes. I think a good training environment is somewhere that the students feel safe, right? And they feel, good enough that they can try, and they feel comfortable enough they can be like, okay, I'll step up and try. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Oh, well, like, he'll correct me. And, and it's kind of that, like, I don't know, like when I was going to medic school, they didn't really give a whole lot of that. They stepped up and they're like, hey, you're leading it, and if you mess up, like, it's on you. Right. And it was kind of a different vibe. And so it's kind of being an instructor, I wanted them to make those mistakes here, so they felt comfortable.
Yeah, no, I think you do a good job with that,
Thanks.
And your class obviously understands that,
Right.
Like yesterday, obviously, it's not a real patient, so there is some levity in the room,
right,
and
right.
people are, able to, I guess, experiment a little bit, or they can ask questions like, am I doing this now? And they can kind of look around.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
For a little bit of an answer, but, that's what the learning experience is all about, So, what do you know what kind of scenario we're doing tonight yet? Or
I'm going to surprise you because you're one of the providers.
That would make sense.
So
Okay,
I'm
cool.
going to surprise you, and you're going to find out on your dispatch call.
All right, that sounds good.
So
then.
we're going to give you a phone with a dispatch log on it, or the app on it, and you're going to get dispatched with a CAD call, and we're going to roll out and have some fun.
Okay. Yeah,
so you guys stay tuned. Our awesome media guy is going to put another snip about right here, I believe, for like 10 seconds. Yeah. Giving a demo. He's getting mad at me over there because I keep adding work to him. But we should show a little clip and a little demo of what we're getting to experience tonight. I think it'd be kind of awesome. So we can do that in post editing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. How long has your school been here? How long have you guys been doing this type of training?
So yeah, good question. So we started in 2017 doing AHA training, and I became a course instructor in TCF Training Center faculty for AHA corporate. And then we opened in late 2017, early 2018. And we started in a room that was literally probably just a slight bigger than this one that we're in here. And we had 6 students, and it was just a very small operation. And I found a really cool clip that we should try to show at some point too, that shows some of the call outs from the old school. And we had a stairwell in the old building and that's where I first came up with the Andrew call out. Yeah. The first time we did a call out, we had taught death by PowerPoint, and I got so sick of teaching PowerPoint, and we were on the pediatric psychological emergencies chapter, right. And I thought, all right, we're gonna go out and we're gonna do like an auto ped in the parking lot. And I started doing it, and I found footage of us and the students going out, and the first time they were doing the Andrew call out, and the very first one ever in history, and it was really, really awesome. And then as kind of the program grew, we needed more room, so we actually had partnered with the company, and we became America's Paramedic and bought this building. And so we've been here about 5 years. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. That's really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's definitely an impressive program you guys are running here. And
Thank
everything
you.
from the training ambulance you have outside that
right.
it actually works, and it's Part 800, right? It could run a call today if it needed to, right?
100%. It actually, underneath all the it's a stick-on, that we have. This is training decals, right? Underneath it says Medic 5, and shout out to the agency, Ohio. I can't remember what it was. It was some critical care transport company in like mid-Ohio. So shout out to you wherever you guys are, if you guys are watching. Your baby is being well taken care of. It's still up and running, doing well. But they had a lot of them, and they actually gave us a really good deal. They threw in a stretcher, a backboard, some spider straps, and stuff like that for free. And they were like, take it. We have 18 of these bad boys that were kind of in a heated garage, and they were like, it's seen 30 or so critical care transports, and that's about it. That's awesome. So they just kind of donated it to us and kind of helped us out, and man, it's blowing up our program. So shout out to them because they've been awesome. So
very valuable tool.
Yeah, for sure.
If there was a program like you guys are running that existed near me back in 2019 when I was taking my course, I would have traveled as far as I needed to.
Right.
If it was within driving distance, I guess to take that kind of a
yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate that. So I'm kind of to switch it, and I want to know about your craziest call. What is your absolute craziest call you can remember?
Craziest call.
Yeah.
It's probably somewhere between some of the combative patients that are on psychedelics we see working music festivals and other events like that. Those people can get a little crazy. It's between that and some of the stuff that went on up in Binghamton, New York.
Okay.
If I had to pick the craziest call, Oh geez, I got to pick one that's not going to get the video flagged.
Exactly.
I got to pick one that
we're like social media
I gotta
rules.
pick one that I guess can be described as in a PG way. There was a time me and one of my old partners, his name was Corey, who's also a EMS creator on TikTok. Shout out the artist in the ambulance, Corey.
Awesome. Noted. We'll have to follow him.
We pulled up to the local post office, right? So that was just where our CAD address was. We used an EMD system up there, right? So they would rank the calls from like high to low acuity, right? So alpha was low acuity, all the way to echo, which was like, high IQ CPR in progress, something like that, right? I believe that call came over as like a Charlie or a Delta acuity, right? So we're like, okay, we're gonna get over there in a timely manner, right? We get there, we show up to the front door, and they're immediately pointing at us like it's around the back. No, it's not, like in the post office, right? We pull our ambulance back around to where the like the mail trucks are going in and stuff. And as we get back there, there's cops on scene, there's security from the post office, and in the middle of everything is a shirtless dude with one shoe on, standing on top of one of the mail trucks in like the post office parking lot, right? The police are yelling at him like, get down, stuff like that. So I'm not sure exactly how they got him off the ambulance, off the mail truck. I think someone climbed up on one side, and then he slid down the windshield to get away from him. Then the cops got him. They had him restrained. They knew it was going to be a medical call because the guy was clearly intoxicated on some type of drug. He was talking about things that weren't there. He's reacting to things that aren't happening. Right,
hallucinations,
all this type of stuff.
Right?
So whatever. We get him on the stretcher. We get him soft restrained. He's trying to bite, spit, doing all that stuff. So, dude is profusely sweating, and he's covered in I'm not even sure how to describe it, like burrs. Like, how there's some bushes and plants.
Those little sharp things that are like the really sharp Legos.
Like the seeds will hook onto you and stuff like that. Like the dude, he's only wearing pants, but covered in them, right? So, and he's got dirt on his elbows and dirt on his face. He had been crawling through the bushes somewhere.
Right.
Ended up in a post office parking lot on top of a mail truck surrounded by police, and now it's our problem, right?
Man, what a great day.
So the dude's heart rate was through the roof. Dude's blood pressure was through the roof. He's talking about how crazy all this stuff is going on, and he starts saying about how he wish he didn't try this time. He wish he didn't take this much and stuff like that. We had only from what he was able to admit, or maybe their context clues, they found it on with something. We knew that he had consumed meth, but it had to be something other than that. Because, he's talking to people that aren't there, and he's doing all this crazy stuff. So that was probably the craziest and earliest call that I had. I was definitely still pretty green when I saw that one, and that was like, dude, if I had some of you guys simulated training before I went into that one, I definitely would have been able to keep my composure a little bit better. But this guy screaming on top of the mail truck was definitely one of the first instances where I was like, holy crap, I guess this is my job, huh? I'm making less than a Burger King cashier doing this kind of stuff, But we saw a bunch of stuff up there like that. There was another instance where we went to an Econo Lodge. I think it was me and that same partner, Corey. We went to an Econo Lodge, which is like a cheap motel chain, right? Which that's always where the good calls come in, right?
Oh, of course.
We get
Been
upstairs.
my fair share of those on duty.
We get upstairs. PD's on scene, and there's a dude, same exact scenario, just wearing pants, but he's running up and down the hallway, screaming, flailing his arms. He's knocking the decorative paintings off the wall in the motel, and he's hitting the light fixtures. Turns out, this guy's neighbors in the hotel called the police on him for a smell. They didn't know what the smell was, but clearly something's going on in that room that shouldn't be, right? Dude was smoking a bunch of meth, doing a bunch of drugs, right? They called the cops on him. Police showed up. They knocked on his door. We found out much later that what this dude did, once he heard, the knock on the door, police, open up, right? He took the rest of his drugs and he put them the only place where he thought they weren't going to check, right? So he put him put him up the back door, right? Where those drugs eventually...
All suspects are presumed innocent until found guilty in a court of law.
So he put him up his butt where they had eventually dissolved and were absorbed, right? So... this dude had, they didn't know how much it was, but a serious amount of drugs in his colon and screaming, freaking out. They tried to tase him. It didn't work. So whatever. It was all hands on deck to be able to calm this guy down and get him still enough where we could actually get him moved and do an assessment on the way and stuff like that, right? Obviously, the elevator in this building didn't work, right? So, and there was no way that we were going to get this guy.
Third floor between a bathtub and the toilet.
Right. So there was no shot we were going to get this guy in a stair chair or strapped in, because obviously the nature with the stair chair, what do you always tell people? Cross your hands, don't reach out, stuff like that. We would have had
your hands, feet inside the ride at all times.
So whatever.
Yeah.
We had enough people to start, just walking this guy down the stairs, right? It was at the time it ended up being effective, but we're going down the stairs with him. He ends up grabbing onto the railing, right? So now we're trying to slide his hands off the railing. It's another guy covered in sweat. You can't even get a good grip on him, right? He's grabbing onto the railing. We're trying to still tug him along. All of a sudden, he decides to let go of the railing, and everybody goes down the stairs, right? So that was me and the two cops and my partner. We ended up flying down the Econo Lodge stairs with this guy. Nobody ended up getting hurt. It was okay. Right.
There's always that point too where I swear it's like you could almost see the patient's like OODA loop almost thinking as you look back on it, and you're like, dang, I really should have picked up on that when I was on scene, because it's almost like they're kids. Like sometimes, like with my little kid, I can see his like brain thought, and like he's like, "What'll Dad do if I do this?" And sometimes I feel like they do that, he's holding on, and I could just imagine him looking around, being like, "I wonder what they're gonna do if I let go." And then he like 1, 2, 3, he lets go, and you guys all go flying,
So this was a couple of years ago now. I'm not sure why we didn't try to sedate him or go about it that way. I guess the nature of what was going on, like he would calm down for a second, right? He'd start talking about how he wants a lawyer and how, don't touch me, I'll be okay. Right. We would go to start walking down the stairs, he would take a couple steps, then start flailing. So I guess we just, it made sense at the time to just try to walk him down the stairs. Then he decided to grab the hand railing, and we all went down the stairs with him.
Right.
Whatever. We ended up getting that guy calmed down enough. I remember he didn't have to be restrained on the stretcher. He ended up like chilling out, which I'm not sure why the cops didn't make a bigger deal out of it. He literally just sent us all down the stairs, but it was such a wreck of a call. I think that one ended up being crazier than the guy on top of the mail truck, because that one, I've never been flung down the stairs with a patient before.
Yeah.
But
I think there's that inherent moment too that you can't really teach, where you're like, at what point do you know this is going to be a bad day, and you just kind of got to grit your teeth and be like, okay, this is what we're doing today, and just kind of go with it. That's like one of those calls.
Yeah. I remember that being like that was like an early morning shift, right? So I think that was at probably like 5 or 6 in the morning, right? So I had like another 10 hours to go after that,
right?
So yeah, I think that's probably up there. Other than that, it's just some of these people at music festivals or events, parties, all these private events that we do, it's the same type of stuff, where someone is taking something that makes them hallucinate, and they're probably drunk as well, or on other stuff. Caffeine plays a factor, and they're combative and don't like or know what's happening, and they say the craziest things, man, and they try to do the craziest things, So, yeah, I would say combative people who are hallucinating is the summation of my craziest call.
Right.
I guess.
I think we all kind of have one of those. I mean, I had one where, he got tased, and he looks down and pulls a taser out of his chest, and we all kind of went, uh-oh, we're in trouble. This is going to be a really bad shift, But, so let's switch gears and talk about, like, I want to know what got you into the skits. What got you into being What's Good? And how did you come up with the name, and kind of where'd you go? How'd you get there?
So the name itself, honestly, was just a placeholder. When I made my TikTok account over COVID back in 2020, before I had ever posted anything. Yeah. So I need a username. Okay, I don't want to make it my name. So, I was like, What's Good? WhatsGood247, like every day of the week. Yeah. And whatever, it was just a dumb name that I thought of in 2 seconds. And then I started doing the sketch comedy stuff. There was actually one of my college buddies was doing something similar, like that POV style skit. And he had seen some success on TikTok, and I saw how it was working for him, and I was like, I'll try my hand at that, So I started doing similar style stuff.
Is this buddy bald by chance?
No.
Okay. Shout out.
Right. And, I just kept making these videos just purely because I liked getting a couple likes and reading the comments was fun. They were never doing great, but it was enough to keep me.
And people's comments on social media nowadays.
To keep
You're like, come on,
Yeah. So I started to see some traction, and I told myself, like, okay, when I hit this benchmark of followers, like I'm gonna think of an actual username or what I want to be
Sure,
referred to as. But initially, I ended up gaining traction so fast that I was like, I didn't even have time to like change the name. Or at that point, I felt like it'd be ineffective because then maybe people won't recognize it or whatever. So I'm kind of grandfathered into the name WhatsGood247, and I've kind of loved it.
Okay.
But
no, that's awesome.
it was. I started off doing a bunch of different characters. If you scroll the bottom of my page, I used to do like Eminem impressions, and I used to do like parent-teacher conference.
All right, can you do an Eminem impression for us?
You're not going to get one out of me today.
Oh, come on, just one. You got a quick one you can do?
No.
Dang
you
it.
let me finish the story.
Dang it. Okay, sorry.
I would do just a bunch of different characters, and then I had the idea to do an EMT character because I still had my job shirt from when I was working at Citywide. Right?
Yeah, of course.
It's like obviously the real uniform, and I was still working as an EMT at a different spot, so I had the look, I had the costume already.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit pensive about representing my actual job at first because I didn't want to rub anybody the wrong way, and it's
right.
But whatever, I started doing this EMT character, and that was the one that like really started to work out well for me.
Okay.
So obviously these other characters, there's a lot of people that do sketch comedy on TikTok and the internet in general. But focusing on one type of character or one niche is what worked for me and what would probably work for anybody else that's doing this type of stuff. So this EMT character I started to do, I used to be like super profane. I used to like try to fit as many curse words as I could in one video.
Right.
Just be like edgy and it worked initially, but as I got better at creating them, I didn't rely on profanity as much as I used to, and somewhere along the way I started to like realize the like support of the community that I was getting, and that was like I was hooked at that point.
That's awesome.
It snowballed into something that I could have never imagined, so actually I remember seeing Fire Department Chronicles,
Jason.
I remember seeing him back in like 2019 or like 2020, like one of the first people I ever saw on TikTok, and I was always super impressed by him, but I kind of thought that he had that all squared away, and there was almost like like, am I copying him if I do that? And
right.
I mean, I'm definitely inspired by him. He's the best.
Heck, we all are. He's the best in the business. Shout out, Jason. You're next. I want you sitting here in this chair next, buddy. So.
But I saw success of one of my college buddies. I saw the way that things had worked out for someone like Fire Department Chronicles, and I've kind of by trial and error formed my own way here. So I really like focusing on the theatrical aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot
Definitely,
of my videos are like one take of 30 seconds, a minute, something like that.
Sure,
they're unbroken, right? So I like the puzzle that is getting all of the words and sequences to fit in a certain amount of time, and the process of getting something like that filmed is something that I like. But these days I've been starting to pivot into some more live action stuff, as I'm sure you've seen. Being able to record actual footage when I'm working at music festivals, I'm hoping to get some actual ambulance footage soon, is a nice complement to the sketch comedy.
For sure,
so, I think it's really cool. So
I think this would be a good segue for you into it, right? Doing this live action kind of role playing, I guess, or the simulation, and kind of a good segue into it and give you a good little.
Like I was saying before, like you can search up like day in the life on an ambulance and find a bunch of videos, or day in the life of a cop, firefighter, all this stuff, right? But a lot of that stuff, it's hard to show. EMS doesn't wear body cams traditionally. And if they did, it's basically all got to be censored anyway.
And blurred out anyway, so everything's blurred. All you see is blurred images all over the screen.
And don't get me wrong, the live action stuff that I've filmed has been, the editing is airtight on it.
Of course.
That's all squared.
You're a fantastic editor, by the way.
I appreciate it, But, being able to showcase what you guys do and showing it, uncensored. And obviously you disclose that it's training. I'm not trying to fool anybody, but it just provides that shock value that
it does,
is entertaining and a valuable training lesson. So, it's really cool.
And we have a totally different niche and a totally different market, but I think that, just partnering with you and collabing with you and getting to know you and spending time with you has just been fantastic, man. And I got to tell you, dude, I'm really honored to have you, in my life. And
pleasure's all mine, man.
Proud to have you here and proud to have you part of the Academy.
I appreciate it, man. This place is great. I'm definitely going to be back.
Good, man. We're so excited for it. And can't wait to do another one of these. I think it'll be great.
Appreciate it, man.
So I think the big burning question on everybody on social media is, are you single? I had to ask.
Yes, yeah, I'm single.
Okay,
Now,
all right.
Now you outed me, right?
Right. So, sorry about that. I just know I would get hung out to dry as a social media person if I didn't ask.
Okay, right.
Right. Like I would get so many boos if I didn't ask. I got to make fans.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. Actually, the last girlfriend I had was in 5th grade. Believe it or not. So.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So. I've been a free agent for a little while now. So.
Okay, just a little while. You still look really young, so just a little while. Yeah.
Well, I'm 24, in case you were wondering.
There you go. Awesome. Okay.
But yeah, great thing that you guys are doing here, man. Awesome podcast, awesome training scenarios. It's all working for you.
Okay, well, thank you. And again, guys, we're so excited to have What's Good here 24/7, and hopefully we do get him here 24/7. That would just be my dream. But dude, you are a big role model for me. I know I'm starting the game late, a little bit later in life, doing this whole social media stuff, But I really appreciate being a good role model, a good influencer, and man, I love what you do. Keep doing what you're doing because I'm proud of you. And
appreciate you, man. Thank you.
I'm proud of the way that you're bringing the light to EMS and some of the funny calls and maybe some of the serious calls and some of the stuff that we BS that we have to go through. In the day-to-day job.
It's honestly something that I could get emotional talking about, the amount of support I've had from people citing me as the reason they wanted to take an EMT course or get interested in the field in general. I never thought that comedy would get somebody to be interested in this kind of stuff.
Sure,
I thought that it would be more anecdotal, actual experiences that would get people to want to be an EMT, but my comedy, I guess, has influenced a couple people, and I couldn't be more grateful for that community aspect, so.
Yeah, that's awesome, really cool. Man. And that's such a positive thing. I think right now America in general and the world, I think is so bogged down with all this negativity and wars and all this stuff that we're dealing with in politics and all the BS that I think bringing good old-fashioned comedy and just lighthearted in the face of taking care of people and taking care of our fellow citizens, I think is a big positive aspect we can bring so awareness to you. So I think that's awesome, man. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, well, this was the first episode of many for this podcast, man.
Deal. Dude, I'm so excited. I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you again. And guys, stay tuned for tonight because we're going to go live again tonight. We have another call out. So we are so excited to have What's Good here. We're going to wrap up tonight. I think you go back tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm flying out tomorrow.
Okay. Going to a music festival?
Yep. St. Paul, Minnesota is where I'm headed next.
Okay. All right, man. It's the middle of the country.
Yeah.
All right. I hope you get a break from this nice heat wave that we're having,
Maybe.
So hopefully you're not quite as sweating hot, So,
awesome.
All right, guys, well, stay tuned. We sure appreciate you guys. This has been an awesome podcast here on EMS Echoes, and we're so excited to have you guys back tonight for America's Paramedic Live. Stay tuned. Right here, same bat channel, same bat time. No endorsement whatsoever, just being funny. Of course, guys, have a wonderful, safe, slow, and quiet night. America's Paramedic out.
Let's do it.